The gift no one expected. Captain Darius stood in the center of the Galactic Council's hall, feeling more out of place than ever. Bright lights shone on him. Thousands of Izalian and human watched from every direction. Cameras hovered. News drones buzzed. He'd fought wars, commanded fleets, survived black holes. But he had no idea what was happening now. "This honor," said the High Speaker, a tall alien with 6 golden eyes. "It's given only once in 1,000 cycles." Darius cleared his throat. "Right. Thank you. But what exactly is the honor?" The crowd parted. 2 armored guards walked forward, carrying a small box no larger than a travel case. The box was quiet, but it shook slightly, like something alive was inside. Darius took a cautious step back. What's in there?" The guards opened it. Inside, curled like a kitten in chains, was a tiny alien woman. She was no taller than a child, her body fragile and thin. Pale blue skin shimmered. Under the lights, her silver-white hair fell over her face, hiding her glowing eyes. She wore a strange cloth wrapped around her like a slave robe, and her wrists were chained. The hall fell silent. One of the guards said coldly, "She is your reward." Darius blinked. "My what?" "She belongs to you now," the High Speaker added with a smile, "a rare being, a known species. She was captured during the Shadow Rebellion. No family, no record. The Council has decided to assign her to you." The tiny woman lifted her head slowly. Her lips trembled. Her eyes were full of fear, but she still spoke. "Master." The word hit Darius like a punch in the chest. "What the hell is this?" he snapped. "I thought I was getting a medal or something." The High Speaker chuckled. "You saved 3 planets, Captain. The usual gifts are too small. She will serve you, obey you, or, if you wish, you may dispose of her." The alien girl flinched. Darius looked around. No one else was surprised. In fact, many were watching with amusement. As if this was normal. As if gifting living beings was just a regular Tuesday. "I don't want a slave," Darius said firmly. "She is no longer recognized as a citizen," said the Speaker. "She has no rights. This is mercy, Captain." The girl was still on her knees, shaking. Darius couldn't walk away, not now. He knelt beside her. "Hey," he said softly. "What's your name?" She looked up, confused. I have no name, Master. Only a number." He gritted his teeth. "What number?" 17. "All right, 17, Darius said gently. "I'm not your master, I'm Darius. And I'm not going to hurt you." She blinked, stunned. He looked at the guards, unchained her. They hesitated. Now, he ordered. The chains fell. She didn't move. Darius reached out slowly and offered his hand. "Come on, let's get out of here." The girl looked at his hand, trembling. She didn't know what to do. Then, slowly, she reached out and took it. The council whispered behind them, murmuring like a pit of snakes. But Darius didn't care. He walked out, holding her hand carefully, like she was glass. As they stepped into the hallway, she whispered again, "Do I sleep in a cage, Master?" Darius stopped walking. "You sleep in a bed. A warm one." She looked confused. "With you?" He smiled slightly. "No, I have a guest room." "Guest?" she asked. "Am I a guest?" Darius nodded. "Yes, for now." They reached the ship. As the door opened and she stepped inside, she looked around with wide, stunned eyes. It was clean, warm, soft light glowed on the walls. No chains, no cages. He motioned to a seat. "You hungry?" She sat down slowly. I don't know what hunger is." Darius stared. "How long were you kept? Like that?" "I don't remember," she said, curling up. many sleep cycles, many masters. Darius walked to the food unit and started preparing something simpler, soft human stew. He placed the bowl in front of her. She stared at it. "I may eat this." He nodded. "It's for you." She picked it up and took a tiny bite. Her eyes watered. She covered her mouth. "Too hot?" he asked, worried. She shook her head. "It tastes kind. It tastes safe." Darius didn't know how to respond. She looked at him again. "I don't know who I am," she whispered, "but I think I trust you." He didn't say anything, but in his heart, he made a silent promise. No one would ever chain her. Again, the stars drifted silently outside the ship's viewport as captain. Darius stared at the small figure sleeping on the couch. She was curled up, arms wrapped around her knees. Breathing so softly he had to check twice that she was really asleep. She looked peaceful, but only on the outside. Inside, she was still trapped. The next morning, she woke before him, tonely awake, but standing quietly in the corner of the room, waiting. He blinked groggily. "You okay?" She nodded once. "Do you wish for me to serve you, master?" He sat up. "Okay, first stop calling me master. Just say Darius." "Can you try that?" She hesitated. Darius. "Perfect." He smiled. "Now, you don't need to serve me. You're not here to work. You're free now." She tilted her head. "But if I do not serve, then what? Am I?" That question stabbed deeper than he expected. Darius stood and walked to the console, pulling up a soft hologram of local news. The council's gift had already become galactic gossip. Some were outraged, others amused. One alien anchor even joked. The council handed a soldier a pet. "Let's hope it doesn't bite." He turned it off quickly. She stood there silently, waiting again. "Sit down," he said, trying to sound casual. "We're going to eat breakfast." She obeyed instantly, folding her hands in her lap. He served a simple meal, synthetic eggs and bread. She stared at it, unsure if she was allowed. He gave a gentle nod. And only then did she begin to eat, slowly, carefully, as if she'd be punished if a crumb fell. He watched her quietly. Every move she made was perfect, too perfect, no mistakes, no expression, just silent obedience, like a robot trained to survive. After breakfast, Darius brought her a loose-fitting dress, soft, gray, and comfortable. Her hands trembled as she held it. "This is mine," she asked. He nodded. "Can I keep it?" He knelt beside her. "You don't have to ask, Luma." She looked at him. "Luma." He smiled. "Yeah, that's your name now if you want it." She touched her chest. "Luma." Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them away fast. She wasn't allowed to cry either. Later, when he showed her around the ship, she followed him like a shadow, never speaking unless he asked her something, never touching anything without permission. The crew quarters, med bay, control deck. When he showed her her own room, small but clean and soft-lit, she stopped at the doorway. "You're not coming in?" he asked. She stared at the floor. "Is this where I am locked?" Darius sighed. "It's your room, not a cage. You can leave any time." She walked in slowly, touching the bed, the pillow, the small table. Everything was alien to Herb. She didn't say it. She only whispered, "I will stay here, if it pleases you." He frowned. "I want you to be pleased, not me." She blinked. "I don't understand." The day passed quietly. Luma said little. She moved only when asked. She never complained, never questioned anything, even when the ship shook slightly from solar interference. She simply stood still, eyes wide, waiting for orders. It wasn't until nightfall, when Darius passed by her room, that he heard something unexpected. A soft humming. He paused outside the door, inside. Luma was standing in front of the mirror. She wore the dress he gave her. Her silver-white hair was brushed down. She touched her reflection like she didn't recognize herself. And then she whispered something. "I look like a guest." Darius stepped away before she noticed him. Back. In his quarters, he opened a secured file. He wanted answers. Who was she, really? But all the data was locked. Redacted by the Council. Species, unknown. Age, unknown. Language, partial records. Prior owners, sealed. Medical scans, incomplete. One phrase stuck out at the bottom. No legal identity. Classified as unregistered sentient. In other words, she didn't exist. His fists tightened. They gave her to him because. In their eyes, she was garbage. He stared at the file. Then closed it. In the dark of night, he whispered to himself, "You're not trash, Luma. You're not a pet. And I'm going to prove it to you." Next morning, he found her kneeling again in the same spot as before. "Luma," he said gently, "you don't have to kneel." "I was waiting," she replied softly. "For what?" "For your orders." He walked over and lifted her chin. "Today's order is this. You get to choose what you want." She hesitated. "But I don't know." "What I want," he smiled sadly. "Then we'll figure it out, together." Luma never cried, even when she flinched at the sound of footsteps, even when the cargo doors slammed too loud, even when she dropped a spoon and instantly dropped to her knees, waiting for punishment. Darius noticed it all, but the worst was what? He saw when she thought he wasn't looking. She'd lift her sleeve slowly at night and stare at the faded burn marks on her forearms, or touch the thin white scars across her shoulders quietly, like counting the ghosts of her past. One morning, Darius walked into the medbay and found her staring into a scan screen. The scanner had mapped her. Small body in glowing blue lines. Her file blinked on the side, several fractured ribs, healed over time. Microscarring on the spine, nerve bruising, underfed muscles. "Luma?" he asked gently. She turned fast, startled. "I didn't touch anything. I swear." "I know," he said. "It's okay." She looked down. "I was only curious. The machine says something's wrong with me." He approached and sat beside her. "No. The machine says someone hurt you." Her lips trembled. "Do you want to talk about it?" he asked. "I was bad," she whispered. "That's why they hurt me. I made mistakes. I cried when I shouldn't have. I looked up without permission." Darius felt his jaw tighten. He took a slow breath, calming his rising anger. "You were never bad, Luma. They were." She blinked. He asked softly, "How long were you kept like that?" She looked away. "Before the Council, I belonged to many. I don't know how many. I don't remember faces anymore, just voices. Some kind, most cruel. One used to keep me in a cage under his desk." Darius didn't speak. He couldn't. The pain in his chest was too real. "You gave me a room," she said slowly. "That makes you different." He gave her a small smile. "Luma, I want you to live like you're human. Eat when you're hungry. Sleep when you're tired. Speak when something feels wrong." She hesitated. "Even if I say something about you?" He chuckled. "Even then." She nodded slowly, her eyes unsure but warm. Later that day, Darius returned to the bridge. The ship was quiet, drifting through peaceful star routes. But his mind wasn't calm. He searched again, digging deeper into restricted channels, pirate networks, abandoned government logs, trying to find even one clue about where Luma came from. Still, nothing. It was like someone had erased her entire existence. That night, she walked into his quarters quietly, holding something in her hands. It was a folded piece of cloth, torn, old, and stained. He looked at it. "What's that?" "It was mine," she said softly. "My first robe, I kept it. Every time I was sold, I hid it. I don't know why." She sat across from him, holding the cloth like it was a piece of her soul. "Do you want to throw it away?" he asked gently. "No," she said, clutching it. "It reminds me that I was real, even if no one else believed it." He nodded slowly. Then she looked up at him. "You say I am free, but I feel like I'm still in chains." "I know," he said. "And it might take time to feel otherwise, but we'll get there." "Together?" she asked. "Together." Next morning, Darius walked past her room and heard something new. Laughter. Real. Light laughter. He peeked in. She was watching old Earth cartoons on a hologram pad. Big-eyed characters falling into mud, slipping on banana peels. Her hand covered her mouth as she giggled, but her eyes sparkled. He stepped inside. Good show. She jumped a little, then smiled shyly. Very strange, but funny. Why do humans enjoy falling? He laughed. Maybe because we always get back up. She tilted her head. "Do I get back up too?" "You already have," he said. She stared at him then. For the first time, she said his name without fear. "Darius." "Yeah." She held out the old robe. "I think I'm ready to let this go." He took it gently from her. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "I want to start again." Darius smiled. "Then let's make you a new robe. One that fits who you are now, not who they tried to make you." She smiled on this time. It reached her eyes. But just as he stepped into the hall to call the fabric printer, notification blinked on the ship's console. "Incoming transmission, unknown signal trace, Bielosica, Plato's." Froze. He opened the message. Only one line was displayed, written in an ancient alien dialect. "Asset 17 located. Prepare extraction." His heart dropped. They were coming for her. Asterisk Luma was gone. Darius burst into her room, breath tight in his chest. But the bed was untouched, the blanket still folded, the cartoon holopad blinking in the dark. "Luma?" he called. No answer. He checked every hallway, the storage bays, the med bay, nothing. Her shoes were missing. The ship's hatch log showed a manual override just 30 minutes ago. She'd slipped out without triggering alarms. Why now? He whispered. Then he remembered the message. The warning. Asset 17 located. Darius slammed his fist on the console and cursed under his breath. Someone had scared her, or worse, contacted her. She ran. But where? He pulled up security cam's blurry footage, caught a tiny figure leaving through the auxiliary ramp, wrapped in a dark cloak, blending in with the night crowds of the alien spaceport below. The planet Delaxer Prime was no safe place. Crowded, lawless, filled with slavers and bounty hunters. Darius threw on his coat and ran lower city. Delaxer Prime to 3 hours later, the streets were madness-packed with all kinds of beings. Black market traders, mercs, beggars, androids. Neon lights buzzed over steaming alleyways. Darius moved fast, checking every corner, flashing Luma's hologram to anyone who looked halfway honest. Most didn't care. A few tried to offer him similar replacements. Then, finally, a local tech boy pointed toward a darker alley. Saw someone like that earlier. Tiny, fast. Headed toward the old scrapyards. Darius took off. The scrapyards stretched across the edge of the city, huge piles of broken ships and forgotten tech. Sharp metal everywhere. Cold air, silence. Then he heard it, whimpering, soft. Scared, he moved quietly between the racks. And there she was. Luma sat behind a torn fuel container, hugging her knees. A group of 3 bounty hunters stood nearby. Checking a datapad, one of them read aloud, 17. Class B bioasset. Unregistered. Prime bounty 500,000 credits. Council wants her alive. Luma was crying but quietly, like she'd trained herself to cry without noise. Darius stepped forward. You picked the wrong girl. The hunters turned. One sneered. Oh look, the human pet owner. It's the biggest one, with cybernetic arms. Growled, walk away, Captain. This isn't your toy anymore. She's not a toy. She's not property. Darius said. She's a person. You're too late. The third one grinned. The council put a price on her head. She's rare tech, and tech doesn't get rights. Darius reached for his sidearm. You have one chance to leave. The hunters laughed till Darius moved. One shot rang out. One bounty hunter hit the ground, groaning. The other two fired back, but Darius rolled behind a wrecked hull, returning fire with precision. Luma stayed still, arms covering her head, lips trembling. Then a voice yelled from the other side. They're flanking. Darius didn't wait. He charged the left side, slamming his fist into the cybernetic one, using the butt of his pistol to knock him down. The last bounty tried to grab Luma. She screamed. For the first time, really screamed. That was all Darius needed. He fired. Silence. Then only the sound of Luma's breath. Fast, scared. Real Darius knelt beside her. Luma, it's me. I'm here. She looked up at him, eyes soaked with tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't want them to find you. I thought if I ran, they would take me and leave you alone. He touched her shoulder gently. Why didn't you tell me? I saw the message. The one you got? I read it. You can read ancient dialect, he asked, surprised. She looked away. Yes, but I didn't want to say. I thought you'd see me as more dangerous. He gave a short laugh, shaking his head. Luma, you just made me see you as smarter, not dangerous. She wiped her face. I didn't mean to make trouble. You're not trouble, he said firmly. You're a target because you're special. Someone out there wants to erase you, and I won't let them. She looked into his eyes. Even if it means war. He smiled. You're worth more than peace built on silence. She didn't reply. But then she leaned forward and hugged him. Not because she was told, but because she wanted to. Back on the ship later that night, Luma sat beside the window, watching the stars. Her knees were pulled close, but her face was calm. Darius entered. You okay? I don't know, but I'm not scared right now. That's something. He nodded. I contacted a few people, friends, ones I trust. We'll get answers. We'll figure out who you really are. I already know who I am, she said. He turned to her. I'm Luma, she said quietly. I was hurt. I was erased. But now, I exist again. He smiled. Yeah, you do. But he didn't tell her what he had discovered yet, because on the bounty hunter's datapad, Darius had seen something chilling. Her DNA was marked Royal Class, which meant Luma wasn't just someone. She might be the last heir to a hidden throne, and now the whole galaxy would come for her. Luma watched the stars slide past the window, her fingers gently pressing against the cold glass. She looked peaceful, but inside, Darius knew she was fighting something deep. So was he. The data from the bounty hunters still echoed in his mind. Royal Class, it wasn't just a title. It meant she carried rare blood and old bloodline. It's from one of the ancient houses that once ruled half the galaxy before the Council took over. And the Council had erased her name, her past, her species. Everything not by mistake, but on purpose. He sat across from her, a cup of warm liquid in his hand. She looked at him and smiled softly. I didn't run today, she said. No, he nodded. You stayed. She looked down. Because I trust you. He hesitated, then spoke. I need to show you something. She tilted her head. Darius brought up a hologramma scan of her DNA, copied from the bounty hunter's stolen datapad. It floated in the air, glowing and complex. This, he said, is your genetic code. You're not just unregistered. You were hidden. Her smile faded. You're from an ancient royal line, he continued. One of the noble families that disappeared during the council's rise. Luma shook her head. That can't be true. I was a servant. I cleaned floors. I was called property. Exactly, Darius said. Someone wanted you forgotten, so they broke you, hid your birthright. But they didn't erase everything. She stood up, walking in slow circles, eyes wide. I remember flashes. A tall woman with silver skin. She would sing to me. She wore a crown. I thought it was a dream. That might have been your mother. I also remember being pulled away from her. A ship. Loud voices, cold rooms. Then, darkness. Darius looked at her gently. You were taken. Probably when the council overthrew your people. You were just a child. She dropped to her knees. Why give me to you then, if I'm so important? He looked down. That's the part that scares me. Luma blinked. What do you mean? I think the council gave you to me to keep you hidden. Or maybe to make sure you disappeared for good. They knew I wouldn't sell you or kill you, so maybe they thought you'd just fade away quietly in my care. She clenched her fists. They used you, and they used me. He nodded. But now, he added, they made a mistake. Because, now you know. She stood again, straightening her back, her voice stronger than before. What do I do with this truth? Whatever you want, Darius said. We can run, stay quiet, disappear together. Or we fight back, she whispered. A moment of silence passed between them. Then, for the first time, Luma looked like something more than a frightened girl. She looked like a leader. Later that night, Darius was in the communications bay, sending encrypted messages to old allies. He had contacts people who had fought the council's corruption before. Some owed him favors. Others hated the council enough to help. He felt a small presence behind him. It was Luma. Dressed in a new robe he had made her simple, dark blue, with gold trim at the edges. Elegant, yet strong. You look like someone important, he said. She smiled. Maybe I am. He nodded toward the screen. There's a rebel group called the Circle. They work in secret, exposing the council's lies. They knew who you are. They might protect you. Or they might use me too, she said quietly. He met her eyes. Not if I'm there. I'll make sure of it. She stepped closer. Why do you help me so much, Darius? He hesitated. Because when I look at you, I see someone who's been through pain, and still chooses to be kind. You didn't deserve any of this, and I won't let them hurt you again. Luma reached out and held his hand. Then, take me to them. You sure? I'm tired of hiding, she said. If I don't learn who I was meant to be, they win. Next day, Deep Space Darius set course for a hidden moon near the edge of the neutral zone. The Circle was rumored to have an outpost there. Buried beneath layers of false signals and ancient ruins, as they flew through a debris field, Darius kept his eyes on the scanners, then something blinked on the screen. A ship, no identification code. Trouble, he muttered. The ship hailed them. A cold voice came through. Captain Darius, you are carrying stolen council property. Prepare for immediate boarding. Luma froze. Darius tightened his grip on the controls. We don't run, he said. Not this time. But Luma stepped forward, her voice calm. Open the channel, she said. He hesitated, then did it. Luma stood tall before the comms. I am not property, she said clearly. I am Luma of House Varelian, firstborn daughter of the Silver Line, And if you board this ship, it'll be the last mistake you make." There was silence. Then, the enemy ship turned and vanished into the stars. Darius stared. Luma just sat down quietly, hands folded in her lap. "I remembered more," she said. "The name, the bloodline, the power they tried to erase." He smiled slowly. She didn't. Call him master anymore, and he didn't miss it one bit. Asterisk the moon looked dead from space.gray surface. No signs of life. Just a cold rock floating in the dark. But Darius knew better. Beneath the layers of stone and ice, inside hidden caverns masked by false gravity readings, lived the heart of resistance. The circle. He guided the ship toward a narrow canyon. A sudden beam scanned them mid-flight, then blinked green. A door opened in the rock wall, big enough for a ship to pass through. "Looks like they still remember me," Darius said, glancing at Luma. She didn't answer. Her eyes were locked forward, focused, not scared, not soft, ready, inside the hidden base. Dozens of rebels stood waiting as the ship landed. Some were human, others were alien. All of them wore the same symbol, a broken crown, as Darius and Luma stepped out. Whispers spread fast. "That's her. She's the one. They say she's from the lost line." A tall woman in a black jacket stepped forward. Her face was stern, her body scarred from many battles. "Darius," she said coldly, "you were supposed to be dead." He smirked. "You say that like you're disappointed, Zara." She didn't smile. "Why'd you come?" Arias motioned to Luma. "Because she's the last living Varelian, and the council wants her gone." Zara's eyes flicked to the small girl. "This is her." Luma stepped forward. Her voice was calm. "I am Luma. I carry no throne, no army. But I remember now. And I want the truth." Zara studied her for a long moment, then nodded once. "Come." Deeper underground rebel archives. The walls were lined with old tech, shattered statues, stolen files, and relics from the days before the council ruled everything. A glowing table in the center projected Luma's DNA again. Next to it, a family tree. A name blinked. "Queen Varelian Solara. Your mother," Zara said. "She died in the purge. The council used assassins, poison, and fire. The royal families fell one by one. But we always heard rumors one child escaped. That child was her," Darius added. Zara frowned. "We never expected the council to gift her like a toy." "That's cruel, even for them." "They thought I was broken," Luma said. "And I was. But now I'm rebuilding." Zara looked impressed. "Then you need to know this." She pushed a file forward. It was marked Operation Erasure. Inside were names, dates, and horrifying orders. Whole bloodlines erased. Families hunted down. Children tagged as bioassets and sold. "They erased your people," Zara said. "Not just from the world, but from history." Luma stared at the data dot, quiet. Then she whispered, "They didn't just want me gone. They wanted everyone to forget I ever existed." Darius stepped closer, but they failed. Later that night, Rebel Barracks. Luma sat by the heater, staring into a cup of warm liquid. Her hands shook slightly, not from fear, but from anger. "Why didn't anyone come for me?" she asked quietly. "Why didn't anyone fight back then?" Zara, seated nearby, answered. "We tried. We lost. We've been fighting in the shadows ever since, waiting for something that could unite the broken pieces." Luma looked up. "And now, I'm that something." "No," Zara said. "You're someone, and that matters more." Silence fell. Then Darius entered, holding a new datapad. "You need to see this," he said. He tossed the pad on the table. It played a secret council broadcast leaked from an unknown source. A counselor stood on screen. Furious, the Varelian girl must be silenced. Permanently. She is not to reach the public. If she does, our entire history crumbles. Another voice responded. And what of Captain Darius? Eliminate him? Quietly. The feed ended. Luma stared at it, her fists clenched. They lied to everyone, she said. They rewrote everything. Darius nodded. And they'll keep doing it unless we stop them. Next morning, Rebel Assembly, the underground hall, was full. Zara stood before the crowd. Beside her was Luma, now wearing a long robe stitched with her family's old crest, a silver flame wrapped in vines. This girl, Zara said to the people, is not just royalty, she is truth. The living proof the council failed to erase everything. Luma stepped forward. My name is Luma Varelian, she said. I don't want a throne. I don't want to rule. But I will not be silent anymore. The crowd stirred. If they want me gone, she continued, let them come. But when they do, I'll find all of you standing beside me. The room erupted into cheers. Even Darius felt something burn in his chest. Pride, hope, maybe even belief. Luma turned to him, smiling. I used to whisper the word master like I was afraid, she said softly. But now, I have no master. He grinned. That's how it should be. But deep in the shadows of the base, a spy sent a message. Target is leading a movement. Council will not wait much longer. And far above, in a hidden warship orbiting. Silently, a new order was given. Send the executioners. Asterisk, the sky above the moon cracked open. At first, it looked like stars shifting. But the circle's sensors lit up in warning. Darius watched the screen. 10 ships, black, silent, moving. With deadly precision, Zara's voice was tight. They're here. Luma stood behind them, calm but alert. She wore her family crest across her chest, a symbol that hadn't been seen in public for over a generation. Darius stared at the enemy fleet. Those aren't bounty hunters. Those are the council's executioners. Zara swore under her breath. They never send them unless they want to erase something. Completely. In the war room, the rebels scrambled to set up defenses. Old weapons were powered up. Drones activated. Shields hummed to life. But they all knew. It wouldn't be enough. Executioner units didn't ask questions. They wiped out entire cities. Then vanished. Darius turned to Luma. We can still run. My ship's fueled. I can get you far from here. Hide you. Luma shook her head. No more. Running. Luma. She stepped forward, her voice stronger than ever. If I run now, they'll say I was weak. That the Varelian line was too soft to stand. No, this time, they'll hear me. Darius looked into her eyes. There was no fear, only fire. Above the moon, in orbit, the executioner ships formed a circle. Their lead commander sent a message. To all rebel channels. Turn over the unregistered bioasset known as 17. Failure to comply will result in total neutralization. Zara frowned. They don't even call her by name. Luma stepped toward the console. Then I'll make them say it. She pressed the comms button and spoke clearly. This is Luma, Varelian, daughter of Solera, last of the Silver Line. A pause. Then the reply came. Acknowledged. You are confirmed. Final order. Termination. Darius gritted his teeth. That's their answer. Not even fear, just delete and forget. No, Luma said. They are afraid. That's why they came with fire. The attack begins, the sky turned red. Explosions rocked the rebel base. Shields sparked. Soldiers scattered, returning fire from hidden turrets. Zara's people were brave. But they were outgunned. Luma watched from the central command room. Then she made a decision. I'm going out there, she said. Darius turned. Absolutely not. If I stand with them, they'll see I'm not a ghost, she said. They'll see the truth, that I exist. You're not trained to fight. I don't need to fight, she said. I need to be seen. On the battlefield, the front gates of the base opened, smoke filled the air. Rebels lay wounded. The executioners, tall, armored in black and silver, advanced with brutal force. Then they saw her, small, unarmed. Dressed in the royal blue robe, Luma walked straight into the fire. Bullets paused. Eyes turned. The battlefield held its breath. I am not your property, she shouted. I am not your mistake. One executioner stepped forward, raising a weapon. Darius tackled him from behind, taking him down before the shot fired. Don't touch her, he growled. The rebel forces, seeing Luma standing tall, rallied. New strength surged in them. For the first time, they pushed back. The turning points were broadcasted, Luma's live image to hundreds of nearby systems. Her voice echoed across screens. They called me 17, but I have a name. They said I was erased, but I'm still here. And if you ever felt small, forgotten, thrown away, I stand for you now. Across the galaxy, rebel cells received the signal. People began rising, shouting one word, Luma. After the battle, the executioners withdrew. One by one, their ships vanished from Orbiton, willing to become the face of a massacre. Against an unarmed girl who called herself Truth, the moon fell quiet. Bodies were buried. The wounded cared for. Luma stood beside Darius, watching the sunrise over the crater wall. You were right, he said. They feared you. She smiled faintly. Not because I fought them, but because I reminded them of what they tried to. Barry. He looked at her gently. You're not my reward. You're not a symbol. You're just Luma. She turned to him. I never understood freedom until I met you, she said. You gave me warmth when I expected a cage. Kindness when I expected pain. Darius smiled. And you gave me purpose. She stepped closer. I used to call you Master, because I didn't know another word. But now she took his hand. Now I call you my home.